Are you considering moving to Spokane, but you can't decide whether to buy or rent? Well, look no further. In this video, we're going to dive into the costs of owning versus renting, help you make an informed decision for your lifestyle and budget. Stay tuned to discover some of the hidden costs of homeownership and the benefits of renting in this beautiful city. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Living in Spokane, Washington, the channel where we cover anything and everything about living in Spokane. If you're new to the channel, my name's Hunter McKay. I'm a real estate expert with over a decade of experience in Spokane. If you live in Spokane or are looking to make a move, be sure to hit that notification bell, that way you're the first to know when we release our upcoming videos. Whether you're ready to move tomorrow or just considering Spokane as an option, please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. I'm more than happy to jump on a call and share all of my insider knowledge about Spokane, Washington. Before we jump in, I want to lead with a little disclaimer. Obviously, I'm a real estate broker, so I benefit when people buy houses. But there legitimately are so many benefits to buying that almost always it's a better situation than renting. I said almost always. We really need to be careful about a certain couple of situations because sometimes renting really is cheaper than buying, and we need to be aware of those moments. All right, so why should you rent? When is it actually a good idea to rent a home? There are a few times, especially if you're only going to live in a city for a short period of time, where renting is way smarter. Let's take myself as a perfect example. I relocated to Seattle to expand my company. I wasn't going to live in Seattle full time. I was only going to be there for a couple of years, and then I was likely going to leave the city with my company under the care of someone else. And that's exactly what I did. I was only there for 2.5 years, and unfortunately, I bought a condo. I can honestly tell you that when I look at the amount of money I spent buying and then selling that condo, even after I take into consideration the money I netted after sale costs, it was less, a lot less, than if I had just spent money renting. I probably spent around $75,000 over the 2-year period living and purchasing a home in Seattle. But that doesn't include the additional rental that I had to maintain during my buying process. So when I combine the cost of my rental and the cost of my purchase together and span it over that 2.5-year period, I spent almost $130,000. Seattle is an expensive city, but it was a perfect example where if I had just chosen to rent, one of two things could have been true. I either could have rented the most amazing 3-bedroom furnished apartment in Seattle and lived like a king, or I could have saved a bunch of money and lived like I did and just rented a 1-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill. And so I guess my point is you don't always have to buy. I fell into the belief that renting was wasted money, and so I bought even though I knew I wasn't going to live in the city for a long time. Sure, I could have turned the unit into a rental when I left, but it wasn't a great rental. It wouldn't have cash flowed. It still would have taken up too much of my time and energy and money managing it year after year. And so what I learned from that experience is that there's a couple of rules to abide by. If you're going to live in a city for just a couple of years, maybe consider renting. If the cost of acquisition of a mortgage is so much higher than the cost of renting, maybe you should rent. Again, look at Seattle. The cost of buying is so much outside of the cost of renting that the mortgage, even after you put a bunch of money down, may still be $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000 higher than the equitable rent payment that you would have made. And so, again, short time frame, outsized cost of purchasing. When those two things are hand in hand, you really should look at what would it look like to rent and how long am I actually going to be in the city for. One of the final pieces to consider is, if I buy this and I have to move, is it still an asset? Meaning, if you move out of it, how easily can you turn it into a rental? And more importantly, will it make you money even if you can turn it into a rental? If you can't say yes to both of those things, maybe you shouldn't buy it. Okay, so that's why we rent. Now let's take a look at the benefits of renting. Most of the benefits of renting come in convenience. It's things like not having to pay for maintenance cost, the flexibility of getting to move every 12 months if you want to, or even more often if you negotiate shorter lease terms. There's also lower barriers to qualifying. You need to make less money. You don't have to put as much down. And in many situations, the quality of unit that you can rent is a lot greater for the same amount of money that you could buy something. And so in many situations, you can get a much nicer unit for less money in a better part of town. The only issue is you don't own it. And so you're paying someone else's mortgage and they're building the equity, not you. That's the trade-off. All right, so renting is sounding pretty good, right? Why on earth would I ever want to buy a home? I don't have maintenance. I have flexibility. I have lower barriers of qualification. Who needs home buying, right? Well, okay, easy there, Tiger. Why don't we just slow down for a minute? Let's take a look at the values of buying a home. Why should you buy a house? What are the reasons that one should consider buying instead of renting? Let's take a look. If you checked out our last video about the cost of renting and how it's been increasing in Spokane over the last 5 to 7 years, you can really look at the fact that maybe it's not a safe bet to rent if you're going to be in a city for a long period of time. Generally, I say if you're going to be somewhere for 5 years or more, you're in a territory where you should buy for a couple of different reasons. One, you got to lock in your payment. And so over a 5-year period, it's almost guaranteed that your landlord is going to raise your rent. That would kind of suck. So if you buy, you can lock in your payment for that 5-year period and beyond because your interest rate is locked unless you refinance. Additionally, over that 5-year period, you're building equity instead of paying someone else's mortgage. On top of that, there's a good likelihood that over a 5-year period, your home may even go up in value. And if you do any updates or upgrades to the home over that 5-year period, that can be money in your pocket too. These are not benefits of renting. These only get to be exercised by you if you own the property. And so if you know you're going to live in an area for a longer period of time, it can really be worthwhile to invest some of that money into your living situation and buy the place that you're going to live. Another thing to think about is what if the cost of rent is actually higher than the cost of mortgage? In the Spokane example we used in the previous video, the median home average with a 5% down mortgage at today's interest rate would have run around $2,400 a month. That was right in the bracket range of the high and low for the same rental price. And so if you could rent a home or buy a home for the exact same price and you're going to live somewhere for more than 3 or 5 years, it's almost guaranteed that you should buy a home because you'll be making money over that time period instead of paying someone else's mortgage and wasting that money. Additionally, if you ever move out of the home, you could rent it out as an asset and make a lot of your money back that you had originally spent. Because by the time you rent it out, there's a good chance that the local rent in your area is going to be less than the mortgage payment you're paying, thus increasing your actual net cash flow in your monthly budget. Beyond getting to make sure that your mortgage payment stays the same, the other big thing about owning your own home is you become the landlord. You get to decide what updates to do to the home, and if you want to change things, that's up to you. The best part of it is if you spend money upgrading and updating your home, you're building wealth and equity because the value of your home is increasing. And so in many ways, you're not spending your money on someone else's wealth anymore. You're taking a dollar from one pocket and you're moving it to another pocket. Yes, your equity is locked up, and so it's not like it's always there for you to use, but over time, that equity and that wealth is building. And the biggest thing about buying property isn't for today, it's what it affords you tomorrow. I've had the benefit of acquiring real estate through my time as a realtor. And as a second-generation real estate agent, I've always enjoyed the knowledge that we can more easily build wealth through acquiring real estate. It's not sexy right away. Many of the properties that I bought the first year cost me a lot of money, both to maintain, to acquire, to upgrade and upkeep. But finally, 5 to 7 years later, they've begun paying for a great portion of my life, allowing me greater time to spend with my family, where otherwise I would have been working. And so it can be challenging to be patient and wait and see the benefit of real estate, but it really happens over a generation. If you can buy homes today with the intention of giving them to your children, then it doesn't matter that the homes feel really expensive today. There was a time period where our grandparents were buying homes for $20,000 and $40,000, and that felt insurmountably expensive to them. Now we have the opportunity to buy homes at $300,000 and $400,000 and $500,000, and it feels insurmountably expensive to us. But 20 years from now, we won't feel that way. We'll regret not having taken action today and acquiring little by little what we need in order to protect our family and build generational wealth for years to come. Last but certainly not least, and to be clear, I'm not a tax accountant, there are tax benefits to buying a home. I know that there are. I won't tell you what they are because you need to go figure that out with your own tax accountant and figure out how to best use them to your advantage. But there are no tax benefits to renting. There are tax benefits to buying a home. So obviously that's what I think about buying or renting. It's almost always a better idea to buy than rent, with a couple of caveats that we need to be aware of. But I'm really curious to hear from you guys. Drop us a like and a comment and let us know. If you're moving to Spokane or you're familiar with the local area, would you rent or would you buy? Hey everyone, thanks for watching, and if you liked today's video, please hit the like button and leaving us a comment. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all of our latest videos. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we upload new videos, and you'll have access to all the information you need to make an informed decision about moving to Spokane. As always, whether you're moving to Spokane today or just considering making a move, I'd love to hop on a Zoom or a phone call with you. Always looking to share my information about the local Spokane market. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.